Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chrissy and today I'm going to be your 2024 Book Awards host, brought to you by Chrissy's Cozy Corner. Obviously, they're my opinions and I'm going to tell you what categories we're going to be going over. I'm going to give you the nominees of each category, 3 nominees for each category, and then the winner at the end of the day. So let's jump right on into the first category. Just as a disclaimer, I got this idea from Haley Pham, and she is one of my favorite booktubers. I love a lot of the books that she reads, so I do want to give a shout out to her. So if you haven't checked her out or followed her, she has a huge fan base, and that's no surprise because she's absolutely wonderful. I love all her videos. I love all of the points that she makes on a lot of her books, even books that we disagree on in opinions. I just love the way she puts it. So shout out to her for giving me this idea. The first category is going to be most likely to succeed, and this applies to a series. So what series will come out on top? What series am I going to love all the way through? I think all of these are really good picks, but I believe one of them is going to be the winner, obviously, here. So let's look at the nominees for this category. A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. The Winner's Curse by Marie Rutskoski. Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. The winner of this category is going to be Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I liked all the books in this category. I think they're all going to do pretty well when I read them, but I feel like this one as a completed series is going to be my favorite. So Mistborn is a very unique magic system. You have a oppressed group of Ska people. You have allomancy as a magic system where they burn and ingest metals, which I thought was really, really cool. I think that the writing is absolutely beautiful. I feel like this story is probably going to end up being the most epic. So if you were more into like epic fantasies, I feel like this is going to be for you. All right, so our next category is going to be most unique, and here are the nominees in this category. Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli. This one was hard for me because all 3 of them were very unique, but I had to give this one to Two Twisted Crowns. I felt like with Mistborn, the whole burning metals is unique, and I've heard it somewhere before, but this one, I feel like there was so many unique elements that it absolutely had to take over this category. Now, Two Twisted Crowns is the second book in a series, so after I explain it a little bit, if you are interested in reading it, you are going to want to read One Dark Window first. This series is called the Shepherd King's Duology, and in this series, the town of Blunder is being taken over by a mist, which is infecting people with a fever. If you are found out to have some sort of magic, which kind of indicates the sickness, then it is a crime punishable by death. Elspeth is our main character in the first book, and she has magic because she had the fever when she was younger, but she ended up not dying from the fever and surviving it. So Elspeth has been hiding her magic, and this magic has caused a spirit to pretty much live in her brain, which is really, really interesting to read about. Now, Elspeth ends up meeting a group of people. They're kind of like rebels. I love reading books that have any kind of rebels, people trying to take it down like a hierarchy or like a corrupt hierarchy. These people, just like Elspeth, are determined to end the fever and the mist in Blunder and to return the land to what it once was. You also have a whole ordeal with the Providence cards, which if you have a Providence card, you can use certain magics, which is super interesting, but I don't want to say too much. So definitely check this out. This was an amazing duology and obviously most unique. The next category is going to be the reread that was most worth it. So this year I reread a bunch of series. I didn't get to reread Throne of Glass because if I did, then that would be the winner. But here are the nominees for was the reread worth it. From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. Before I announce the winner of this category, I just want to say if this was based on just the individual book and not series, it would be House of Earth and Blood. I think that book is absolutely fantastic. It is my favorite in this stack. But as far as series go, it is not my favorite series. The Crescent City is not my favorite series. And I enjoyed all these rereads, but I'm going to have to give it to A Court of Thorns and Roses. I don't think there's any surprise here. Beauty Beast retelling. This one's not the strongest book in the series, and I believe the second book in the series is a Hades Persephone retelling, but I annotated it. I had so much fun rereading A Court of Thorns and Roses. If you don't know what this is, which I highly doubt that's the case, we have the Fae world and the human world, and our main character Feyre ends up killing a wolf in the woods, and it ends up being an actual Fae from the Fae lands. So a female comes and drags her back as punishment to the Fae lands, the magical Fae lands, and that's really all I'm going to say because I feel like most of us already know what this is. So anyways, absolutely 100% favorite reread of the year. The next category is going to be biggest disappointment of the year. In this stack, I have an author that I highly trust and some other books that I just heard great things about and just went in with very high expectations. So here are the nominees. Twisted Love by Anna Huang. My Favorite Half Night Stand by Christina Lauren. The Broken Girls by Samantha St. James. And the unfortunate winner of this category is going to be Twisted Love by Anna Huang. I heard so many great things about this. I was so excited to read this. So many people love this series, and I'm super bummed out that this wasn't for me. The general premise is obviously it's a romance, and I don't know if it's marketed as dark romance. I wouldn't necessarily go as far to say it's like a super dark romance or anything like that. But the main character, Ava's brother, is leaving on a trip, and he wants somebody to kind of watch over her. So he asks his friend Alex, who obviously has like a dark past. Alex kind of has his own motives, but biggest disappointment. I didn't really like it. I didn't like the spicy scenes. I didn't really like Alex at all. I didn't like him as a main character. I thought like his dark and brooding stuff like was just an excuse for him to be mean. So yeah, no. Yep. That's biggest disappointment. The next category is going to be most wholesome. So let's check out the nominees for this category. Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. The Exception to the Rule by Christina Lauren. Nora Goes Off Script by Annabelle Monaghan. And the winner of this category is going to be Better Than the Movies. I loved this book so much. I thought it was so cute. Obviously, the whole wholesome vibe hit so hard with this book. Liz and Wes are next door neighbors, and Wes has always kind of terrorized Liz. He's obviously always had a crush on her, and it's not said right at the beginning, but it's very much implied. And her old crush comes back into town, moves back into town, and she needs a little help trying to snag him as her prom date. So Wes decides he's going to help her, and obviously they grow close, and their friendship is like really cute. The banter is so good between the two of them, and I fell in love with them, and it was so nostalgic, like with the young love, and so sweet. When people say stuff like, it just warmed my heart, and you're just like, well, what do you mean it warmed your heart? This is the definition of warming my heart. This is the definition of kicking my feet and just making me like giddy. And it's not spicy. And it doesn't have to be. Like, books don't have to be spicy. So if you need them to be spicy, you probably won't love this. But it is just so good. I love the writing too. For a young adult romance, this was very strong. The next category is going to be weirdest read of the year. And here are our nominees. The Villa by Rachel Hawkins. A Kingdom of Stars and Shadows by Holly Renee. Bunny by Mona Awad. And the winner of the weirdest book that I read in 2024 is going to go to A Bunny by Mona Awad. And when I mean weird, but I mean weird in a good way, I really, really like this book. And by weird, I mean I didn't know what was going on half the time, which is also the reason I really, really like this book. So I would definitely recommend this book. So it's not for everybody though, but you have Samantha who doesn't really fit in her college, and she's in this university writing cohort with these girls. They call themselves the Bunnies. They refer to each other as Bunny, kind of like a sorority. So they're like little space that they kind of like gather in. They call it the Smut Salon, and Samantha and her friend always kind of like make fun of them until one day she receives an invitation to the Smut Salon, and then she gets involved in a lot of the things that are kind of going on within it, and she's very, very intrigued by it. So the less you know, the better with this one. Weird but amazing. So the next category is going to be best covers, and here are our nominees. Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. The Familiar by Lee Bardugo. Throne of the Fallen by Carrie Maniscalco. The winner of best cover is going to be, for me, Two Twisted Crowns. I love the dark, mist, scary, creepy woods. I'm not like a pink, bright colored person. I like neutrals. I like dark colors. I like gothic reads. Of course, I like cute stuff, like Better Than Movies too, but this is more my vibe. It really should be Throne of the Fallen because it's absolutely gorgeous. But for me, It's the gothic Misty vibe that will get me every single time. The next category is going to be best setting, something that is very picturesque. That is going to be really hard for me because I feel like all the books up here are amazing when it comes to setting. But yeah, so here are our nominees. Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. Into the Paracosm by Tisha Carvalho. The Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. And the winner for best setting goes to This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. The way this author described Prince Edward Island had me researching vacation stays, how much they cost, where could I stay. She described everything so well to the point where I wanted to be there. And I actually spoke to people who had been to Prince Edward Island and they were just in awe. So absolutely amazing. Great summer read. The setting is just perfect. Our next category is going to be Best Banter, and here are the nominees. The X-Files by Jessica Joyce. Throne of the Fallen by Carrie Maniscalco. Funny Story by Emily Henry. And the winner for Best Banter goes to none other than our famous queen, Miss Emily Henry, Funny Story. So I feel like not many people can write banter as well as she can. Like, of course, there's lots of books that have great banter, but every time I read a book by her, I've never been let down by the banter. Daphne and Miles are quite possibly maybe one of my favorite couples. I feel like this might be one of my favorite Emily Henry books. And if you're an Emily Henry fan and you read People We Meet on Vacation, I think there's like a part where like Poppy, and it's been a while since I read it and it's one of my favorite ones, but Poppy and Alex refer to themselves like as a fake couple name. I think it was like Keith and Gladys. And they see an old like couple kayaking, I believe. I like read this somewhere recently and their name was Keith and Gladys. And I'm like, was that a People We Meet on Vacation Easter egg? I'm gonna have to look more into it and reread them to try and like kind of see if there's other Easter eggs in Emily Henry's books. The general premise of this book is Daphne's fiance ends up leaving her for his best friend that is a woman. And that woman's boyfriend ends up being Miles. So Daphne ends up rooming with Miles and they end up growing close and they do a whole fake dating thing to kind of make them jealous, but obviously it turns into more, and I thought this was done so well. I love Emily Henry every single time. Queen of banter, queen of good times, queen of beautiful writing, queen of everything, queen of everything. The next category is going to be best quote, so here are our nominees. The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. A Diary of Blood by S.T. Gibson. Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings. And the winner for best quotes goes to A Diary of Blood by S.T. Gibson. These quotes is like, I annotated and tabbed so many quotes in this book. This is a Dracula retelling, and it's from the perspective of Dracula's bride, Constanta, and it's kind of her last love letter to Dracula, and she's kind of detailing all the kind of traumatic things and coming to terms with this unhealthy relationship that she had had with him the whole time. There is a really like found family situation in this book, and I highly recommend it. It's definitely one of my favorite reads of the year. Every single time as somebody wants like a new refreshing read, I'm like, please read this. It is, I would say, top 5 favorite books of the year. This is definitely up there. But let me read you a quote just to show you like how like lyrical and beautiful that they are. All right, so here's one. But it was like grasping at a flame. I never penetrated to the burning heart of you, only came away with empty, scorching fingers. I'm trying to pick ones that are not spoilery, so I'm just going to read one more, and I think I read this in another video when I was actually reading this book. But now all my carefully crafted excuses for you dissolved like sugar under absinthe, revealing a truth I had spent centuries avoiding. The next category is going to be biggest surprise, and what I mean by that is I went into it knowing the book would be good, but came out with a new favorite read that I'm absolutely obsessed with. So here are the nominees. The Winner's Curse by Marie Rotzkowski. Into the Paracosm by Tisha Carvalho. The Gray Shear by Kim Leggett. And the winner of Biggest Surprise goes to Into the Paracosm by Tisha Carvalho. And this one was absolutely wonderful. If you like The Hunger Games, The Mist, Battle Royale, all of those definitely give off very similar but uniquely different vibes. The hierarchy in this book is called the High Council, these group of people who enlist citizens, just random citizens, to go into this thing called the Paracosm, where they're to fight like the monstrous fog in there, and most people don't come back alive. So our main character, Violet, just wants to save her village because the High Council has pretty much like ignored these like starving villages, and that's really all she wants. So she is just trying to make $1 over here, and she's basically offered a job to go in there and save somebody, like bring this person back. And she goes in there and finds out a lot more about it than a lot of people know. It is a novella, so just under 200 pages, but I don't think I've ever read a book under 200 pages that had the amount of action, interesting plot. The world building was so good. Like, sometimes you read like the first book in a series and the world building is just not it. And her setting is gorgeous. She describes everything so perfectly. Like, I could picture everything so perfectly. And I have not shut up about this book since I read it. It's the first in the series, so there is more coming out, and I cannot wait. Biggest surprise of the year. Went into it, like I said, with good expectations, but came out with like, now I think about it every day. Like, I think about the characters. There was moments in this book. There was a moment in this book that had me like, I had to like put it down and tell my husband, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. Obviously I can't say, but amazing. Amazing. The next category is going to be most underrated. I actually wish I could just pick all of these, but obviously I can only pick one, but I do think all three of these are severely underrated. So let's look at the nominees. The Gray Shear by Kim Leggett. The Winter's Curse by Marie Ratzkowski. My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. And the winner for most underrated goes to The Gray Shear by Kim Leggett. In this book, you have our main character, Tierney, and there's some other girls around her who are on the cusp of turning 16, which is the Gray Shear, and they're said to have, like, during the Gray Shear, these, like, properties in their blood. So their town throws them out into the wild to kind of just, like, fend for themselves, and a lot goes on with that. Then you have poachers who are trying to hunt them for their blood. It was very interesting, and the blurb on it says Lord of the Flies meets The Handmaid's Tale, and I can definitely see that. The women are not really respected in their town, so it's another one where it's like kind of going blind. I went in completely blind. I didn't read anything about this book, and I was like, I'm so glad I didn't. So definitely don't read too much into it before you go into it. So one of my favorite books of the year, actually. Definitely one of my favorite books of the year. Top two. All right, our next category is going to be most thrilling, so let's check out our nominees for this category. Bunny by Mona Awad. Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. Battle Royale by Koshun Takami. And the winner for most thrilling goes to Battle Royale by Koshun Takami. I really hope I said the author's name right, but this is my husband's favorite book of all time, and it took me having to invite him onto my channel to pick out my reads for me to actually read the book. It's really good, so I don't know why I waited that long. I'm kind of like kicking myself in the butt for waiting as long as I did, but it's very much like The Hunger Games. I can't find anywhere where it says Suzanne Collins was inspired by it, but it so is similar. Instead of citizens from districts being thrown into like the games and Hunger Games, it's actually middle school children. They're in 9th grade, but in Japan in this book, technically it's in middle school. 9th grade is middle school like it is in some countries. And pretty much they are trying to like off their classmates to survive. They have to be the last one standing. There's a whole televised situation of the winner, just like in Hunger Games. There's a lottery system. There is a lot of similarities, and I do talk about it in my reading vlog of reading the books my husband picked out, so I'll link all that down below. But so thrilling, such a page turner, absolutely amazing. 4.5. I gave 4.5 stars, but anyways, we're not even talking about stars. So let's move on to the last category, actually. The last category is going to be most badass FMC, and here are the nominees. Feyre from A Court of Thorns and Roses. Poppy from Blood and Ash. Lydia from House of Flame and Shadow. This one was super hard for me because I feel like all these women are so badass. I mean, Feyre has like powers from all the High Lords. Poppy levels up in every single book. But I had to give it to Miss Lydia because I feel like she just carried this book on her back. So they're all badass, but I was very impressed with Lydia in House of Flame and Shadow. Love her. Love her so much. Obviously can't go into too much detail about the synopsis of this series because we're super deep into the Sarah J. Maas universe with this one. And if you know, you know. So there are all of my nominees and winners for each category. I'm so glad I found inspiration from Haley Pham to make this video because I had so much fun doing it. It really felt like I was forced to make some difficult decisions trying to categorize these books, like life-altering decisions. But you know us bookish people and how we feel about our books and our characters. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below and let me know if you have like a different book that you read that would fit into any of the categories that I mentioned, or maybe even a different category. So I thank you so much for watching, and I post videos every Sunday. I hope to see you next week. Bye, guys.